All right, Kathy, whenever you're ready.
I am ready. Let's get this off the screen here. I'm calling this Back Bay Architectural Commission public hearing to order. It just jumped in front of it. Let me start again. I'm calling this Back Bay Architectural Commission public hearing to order at 5 p.m. on May 14th, 2025. You can participate in this hearing by going to our Zoom meeting link in our agenda and posted online at https://www.boston.gov public-notices 163-74286 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering ID number 978-8865-6033. You may also submit written comments or questions to backbayac@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we're conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Back Bay Architectural Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which includes landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the Commission's purview.
All right, and commissioners present, we have Kathy Connor, Tom High, Andy Champatera, Rob Weintraub, Tom Vinayer, Gina Dimitriadis, and Franklin Ross. And staff we have present, we have Sarah Lawton, Preservation Assistant, and Joe Cornish, Director of Design Review. And I see Susanna Gaspar is just about to join us as well. So we have one more commissioner just about to log on. Okay. We can go to our first project, Kathy.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So application 25.0776 BB 204 Beacon Street. Is there someone here for 204 Beacon Street?
Yes, this is Garrett Goodridge speaking along with the applicant. It was Stefan Castellucci, my husband. We are owners and residents at 204 Beacon Street, and we'll be doing the presentation tonight. We also have Mark Lissick, the structural engineer that had prepared the structural engineering report that was included as part of the submitted documentation. He will hopefully be able to speak to some of the structural related elements. And we also have, we also have members from Boston Green, the management company from the condo association.
Terrific. And what we're going to do is turn it over to Joe so that he can do the staff comments first, and then the floor will be yours at that point. Okay?
Great. Sorry.
Great. Thank you. Staff notes that 204 Beacon Street is a 5-story stone row house built between 1862 and 1863. Staff recommends, let me see here. Oh, the staff comments, the applicant has submitted a report from a structural engineer that recommends removing the tree. However, the Garden Club of the Back Bay has had the tree assessed by 2 arborists who concur that the tree is in good health. Furthermore, the Garden Club has conducted research that suggests that the damage to the garden's retaining wall may have been caused by a larger tree that was removed sometime between 2007 and 2009. Staff recommends denial without prejudice, finding that the tree shall remain undisturbed until a plan is submitted to the Commission to repair the retaining wall. The Commission will then at that time determine if the tree must be removed to complete the necessary repair work. And I do want to just show you just some photos I took when I went to visit the property. So this is the tree in question. You can start to see here the issue with the retaining wall bowing out. You can also see there's quite a bit of displacement in the curb as well. So there is a lot of shifting and movement happening here. And here you can really see the movement that has taken place at the retaining wall. So did you want to share your own screen? Because I know you had a video that you wanted to show. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a video that hopefully speaks to related to our conversation with the neighborhood association and garden club, but whether or not this tree may be contributing to the failure of the retaining wall. So I'll bring
So
that up.
so we can go through the presentation that you submitted first, and then you can show your video.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So starting off, just some general photos here of the existing conditions, identifying the tree as Joe already pointed out, and you can see on the smaller photos at right some of that mortar that's being displaced. The condition of the wall has continued to deteriorate, especially given recent rain events and continued rain events as we expect, looking into the forecast. And really the main goal of the submission, sort of building off of what the structural engineer had recommended and initial conversations with the arborist that prepared the quote for removal, it was basically addressing the tree first, and then we would submit a subsequent application that would address any design proposals related to the garden itself, and more specifically the stabilizing, restoring the retaining wall and passage to the garden level unit and common space underneath the stoop. We submitted some supplementary photos. I won't jump into the structural engineer's report just yet. I'll let Mark weigh in at a later point. But there were some supplementary photos that we had submitted that spoke specifically to the root system of the tree and its contributing factor to the retaining wall.
Do you have those handy? I'm sorry, I thought I added those here, but
I certainly can bring it up if.
Yeah, I'll let you share your screen, and then you
Sure.
can show your
Sure.
video. All right.
So can you see this?
Yes. Yep.
Great. So again, just a general overview, really looking at the grade change from the tree's base to the top of the existing retaining wall and the adjacent sidewalk passage. We also, after our conversation with the neighborhood association, we swept aside some of the soil to reveal the roots, because there was skepticism about how the tree was potentially contributing to the wall. And we were able to identify specific roots from a larger, wide-spreading, shallow root system that are extending perpendicularly from the tree's base to the wall over a span of roughly 4 feet, and then hitting the wall and turning to run laterally along the wall. Obviously, we assume that there may be other contributing roots here, but these are the most prominent. Beyond that, what we wanted to identify here, I guess it sort of speaks to the original planting of this tree, which seems to be not properly done, or over time, since its planting has become neglected prior to our involvement within the condo association and moving in roughly a year and a half ago. There's a grade change from the tree's root collar to the top of the curb, to the top of the retaining wall, of roughly 10 inches. So just over 20% slope over 4 feet. And I think, in addition to seeing the roots that are physically touching the wall, this additional pressure we can only assume is contributing more so to the wall's failure. And then beyond that, an even larger jump from the top of the roots to the adjacent sidewalk of 16 inches. So that was just some supplementary information based that we thought was relevant after our conversation with the neighborhood association. And I also want to share the video. So Apologies if it's loud. I don't know how to control it. But basically, just a preface to this video, we've identified that there's some areas of existing mortar, which, in speaking with a structural engineer, identified as being a last line of defense of keeping this wall upright. But later in the video, you'll see where the most problematic area interacts directly with the tree roots just beyond. So another thing that, in addition to the photos, sort of again stepping back to when we spoke with the neighborhood association, we completely understand the rationale of wanting to save the tree. I think in any other scenario, we would agree that it's certainly worth pursuing. And but what we have learned in our discussions with the structural engineer and with the management company here at 204 Beacon is that one, in order to save the tree, in order to address the retaining wall, there would need to be some trenching involved along sort of the length of the existing retaining wall to properly rebuild, stabilize, restore the retaining wall, and there would be a little bit of trenching at the foundation of the building as well. And that trench would be cutting back, I'm not entirely sure the specific width, but it was thrown out of like maybe a 3-foot path. So we'd be manipulating the tree's root system in some fashion. And in our conversations with Tyler, the arborist, who submitted the quote for removal, he identified that while he can't speak to the subterranean conditions, that he'll leave that to the structural engineer, he did say that this particular species, this particular tree, has wide-spreading shallow roots. Because of the dramatic grade change, a decent amount of that root system would be cut away in addition to the trenching. So there is a concern that we might ultimately be destabilizing the tree in the effort to address the wall, but also try to save the tree. We also learned after a little bit of research too that this particular species of tree, while this tree in particular predates, or the planting of the tree predates the decision that apparently this species is on a do not plant list, especially in urban areas as of last year, because of its tendency to create infrastructural damage, say at sidewalks and that sort of thing, among other reasons, but that's probably most relevant here. And as we've learned more about this tree, even though maybe this particular varietal is more sturdy, generally speaking, pear trees can tend to be a little bit more unstable, structurally speaking. And so we've heard from a neighbor of ours who was concerned about potential impact to their property at 202 Beacon Street. Even with all efforts to save the tree, if we're cutting away the root system, there was still concern about, who or what would happen if it ultimately were to fail on its own accord. And in speaking with the neighborhood association as well, they acknowledged that at the end of the day, even if efforts were made to save it, the tree could ultimately be a casualty. And if that were to happen, of course, all efforts would be made to make this garden and all conditions both safe and appropriate for its historical context.
Could I just ask a question or make a comment?
Sure.
All of the statements that you're making make sense, but I personally think, and based upon our historic way of approaching these issues, or a standard way, that these are the arguments that you would be making when you were presenting a plan to repair the wall.
Mhm.
And that would be evaluated in the context of what the plan is and what the impact on the tree would be, and whether there would be the possibility of saving the tree, and if not, what would replace a tree.
Sure.
So I am very much in support of Joe's recommendation,
Mhm.
because I think we need to have that information from a mason and an arborist before before we're at the point where we can get. I mean, you have a very good presentation talking about the damage. There's no question that this needs to be remediated based upon the Google searches that that the Garden Club did and that I did separately. This has existed for a long time, long probably before this tree was planted. It might be exacerbating it, but that's really not the issue. The issue is we need to have a presentation of a plan of what you're going to do and not take out the tree until we know, or that that is the right approach. That's, that's where I come down, having heard what you said and read read the report very carefully.
I appreciate that. I think it's worth noting that both of us we're licensed architects. We've actually been through a number of these presentations before, and we're being gracious enough, of course, to represent the building. And so we're sort of at the mercy of recommendations of how to approach this. We do have or have made considerations, just in terms of what we would propose from a design perspective. But we certainly understand your commentary. And I think there might be, it may be worth having the structural engineer or the management company speak to some of this as well, sort of the impetus of approaching the project in this manner as opposed to a design forward manner.
Yeah, if they want to raise their hand, and I can make them co-host so they can comment. I saw someone named Mark who was on a cell phone who I made a co-host. What's the name of your property manager?
It's either Leland,
There he
or
is. All right. I see Leland. I will make him a co-host. All right, Leland, you can unmute yourself if you'd like to comment.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for activating my audio and video. As a property management company, the way I'm seeing this project, I mean, a couple of things are really concerning to me is one, thanks for, I was just going to put that up there. Even a wider perspective, that tree is quite large compared to anything else that's on that street. It's going to continue to grow even larger than what we're looking here. I think this picture is from 2022, if you're doing a Google Street View. My concern is that, as that continues to grow, it's basically going to start bringing insects and bugs and whatnot into the building. Its branches are reaching out. It's also spreading down low, like he said, is pushing against that retaining wall. But more so, I know everyone's kind of concerned on the tree's life, but as a management company, that wall, as you can see, it could go at any moment. I mean, we've been receiving an enormous amount of rain this year, especially these winter conditions are also now allowing rain and then freezing and rain and then freezing, and it's expanding and pushing against that retaining wall along with the efforts of the tree itself. But I'm concerned about the livelihoods of the tenants that are in there, because again, if that wall collapses, and it could happen at any moment. I had a mason go out there recently, about a couple of days ago, and he was really concerned about the condition of that wall and how much time it's left before it collapses. Now, if it does, he's going to lose his means of egress, and that's going to be a concern. Now, this is all going to start moving a lot quicker without a means of egress, and that wall collapses. God forbid if he's walking out the door while that happens, So as much as we're concerned about the tree, I'm more concerned about the livelihoods of the people that are coming in and out of that walkway. And so, you know, I think the tree, although it's in, you know, healthy condition, I don't outweigh that to the safety that I have, concerns I have of people walking in and out of that walkway. And once the, you know, and then during the project itself and the roots, you know, we're gonna, more than likely, they're gonna have to be cut back. I know how, I've been part of a lot of masonry projects. They're gonna want to fill it, they're gonna back, you know, if these roots are now against that retaining wall, they're gonna have to be cut back. You're cutting back roots. Again, like kind of going to what was already kind of, you know, said, is that it's gonna further damage the life of that tree by doing that. The other concerns too, which I'm waiting to hear back from, is the insurance company. Insurance companies have been, I'm not sure if anyone's aware, have been really cracking down on all condo associations. They're trying to find pretty much anything to cancel or increase premiums. This building has one coming up soon. It's going to be an inspection. They do not like seeing trees that close to the building. It could obviously cause problems to the foundation wall, bringing water into the basement or that living area. So we've been battling a lot with insurance companies. This tree is concerning to me. I think they're going to flag it as something that, you know, could cause some kind of issue with them, you know, continuing with their insurance policy there. So these are kind of things I'm seeing on a management perspective that concerning about, you know, waiting and worrying about a tree, when I'm more concerned about the occupants of the building itself as well, being a historic building. So
I understand your concern, and I agree with, you know, obviously protecting the occupants and the building. It seems to me, first of all, let me ask you, as a property manager, when was the tree last pruned?
We just came on.
we came on in what the
August.
August last year.
Okay.
So this would be the first season that would be involved with pruning that tree.
And you've had a mason come out.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you couldn't have presented or the applicants couldn't have presented a proposal? It doesn't take long to put together a proposal that the commission could look at. And basically that's what Joe is suggesting, is that this is not ripe for decision until we have the facts in front of us, all of the facts, not just the part relating to the tree.
Sure.
Okay.
I think we tried to speak to the structural engineer's report. In terms of the mason, we tried to do that as quickly as possible. After speaking with the neighborhood association last week, the time frame, just a couple days turnaround and getting documents or supplementary documents submitted by Friday was the time frame just didn't allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we can of course pursue that further and have another assessment on top of the structural engineer's report.
This would be simply a question of presenting to the commission a plan for the repair of the wall and how it would relate to the tree, the trenching that would be necessary, and an assessment from your arborist, who I assume is a certified arborist, as to the impact on the tree. That should not be difficult to do. We meet again in 4 weeks. I mean, it's not like you have to wait for 6 months.
Right. Yeah, I think in this particular case, and just speaking with the management company, speaking with the structural engineer, they were concerned, as are we, about the longevity of the wall and further potential damage. And of course, we would hope that a 4-week span, nothing catastrophic would happen. And so we will pursue whatever is necessary to supply the commission with additional information, whether that be detailed drawings or other assessments. But again, it was solely to address the clear failure and continuing failure.
Right.
I agree with Tom that if this is really a question of life safety, then it's even more important to have a sense of what you're planning to do with the wall. It is the wall that is creating that life safety issue. So I understand I don't think the commission wants to, be the cause of any kind of catastrophic failure or anything, or, stand by it. But it is really, if you're going to remove the wall, the tree is going to impact the wall. So I completely agree with Tom that without understanding the entire picture, it's very hard to make a decision because these two things are intertwined and the problem is the wall, not the tree.
Can I ask a question? Can we push this back? Could we say if time is of the essence and you guys are concerned about life safety, could we push this back to Joe? And if they get their, if they get their proposal together before we meet next, have Joe review it and give Joe sort of the optionality to make this decision, just in terms of pushing the timeline forwards if they're, if they're ready. It's just a question for everyone.
We also want to be thoughtful about the design proposal, which is, I suppose, part of the hesitancy of including a full-fledged proposal or spending the extra time given the concern. We're happy to put together the design proposal, but we don't want to be haphazard in, not allowing other members of the association to weigh in, obviously countering in different aspects of potential garden work, which we would want feedback from Back Bay Garden Club as well. And so that a lot of pieces, of course, that we would want to, again, be very thoughtful about, but because time is of the essence, we didn't want it to be as piecemeal, but I suppose that's sort of where we've landed.
Yeah, and it seems to me, to the point of whether this could be delegated to Joe, it could be, but I think that's a little unfair to Joe because this is not just, this is involving a lot of things, and now you're suggesting that there may be a change in the design that you would be proposing. So it seems to me that if this is as urgent as you believe it is, and I have no question that it could be urgent, you get sort of priority attention and you come back. I don't know what the deadline is for the next filing for the next commission meeting, but I would think you could get something together in time with the right priority on it.
Yeah, May 20th is the deadline. May 20th is the deadline. Okay.
Yeah, I think in that case, we would, only isolate the wall, sort of the, whatever would be necessary to make sure that we have adequate and hopefully closer to code compliant passage to the lower level common space and lower level unit. And then if necessary, related to the garden, we would have to have a separate application, at which point we would certainly, interact with the garden club, receive whatever feedback would be necessary for that scope. So sort of just separating it out so that the main concern, of course, is the wall, and whether or not, if it ultimately has an impact on the tree, then we'll breach that subject when we get there. But again, focusing on the wall.
I would be ready to make a motion along the lines of Joe's recommendation when the time comes.
Great, thanks. Tom, shall we go to public comment?
Can we have an engineer speak to this?
Pardon me?
Can we just have the engineer speak to this?
Oh, yes,
He should
please.
be on the
Certainly,
call.
please. Yes, thank you for that.
I just want to make sure that the person who actually has the license to talk about things falling is talking about it.
No, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Because we're just architects, so we know how to make it look really nice and generally know how to make things stand up. But we do have to follow their rules.
It takes a village.
It does.
Yeah, Mark, are you here? You should be able to speak. If you're Mark's iPhone, is that?
Oh. He's unmuted.
Well, we could try to do public. We could go to public comment and have him speak after.
That sounds like a plan. So members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which includes landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. And Lori, I see you have your hand raised.
Lori Thomas, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Lori Thomas for the Garden Club, specifically the Tree Committee. First, I'd like to say thank you for reading my letter and responding to that. We completely agree that this is an emergency repair situation, and hope you will, pursue the repair in the way that Joe and Tom have recommended. I'd just like to make a few other points that I've learned from talking to both arborists and a mason. I've learned that tree roots don't directly break mortar. Tree roots seek water. So if you already have a situation where there's been some kind of foundation damage, they can seek water if it's already there. Tree roots can't exert enough force to shatter a foundation or move these large stones, but they can certainly push against existing cracks and cause additional damage. When I look at your yard, I see first a downspout with a giant hole in it that's directing water right into the stones lining the edge of your foundation. But when I look from the sidewalk, I can see that the entire plane of your garden has shifted. That front curb that is raised at the right and dipping at the left suggests to me that there is a bigger problem here than just your retaining wall. So I would urge you to try to look at dealing with the entire thing. I could see from before 2008 that there was a giant tree in that yard, and I wonder if that caused some of that problem. But I will also say to you, just FYI, there are lots of much bigger trees than this one in gardens all over Back Bay. The trees do not bring bugs and insects into buildings. And while it's not always a great idea to plant a tree this close to the foundation in case you want to put up scaffolding, it's highly unlikely it's going to cause damage. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. We're going to move on to Surge.
Am I allowed to just respond to something Lori mentioned?
Oh, sure. Go right
If
ahead.
that's all right. So
Yes.
that second pass at images was specifically in response to what Lori had said at the NABB meeting. The reason that there is such a huge berm is because just below the normal soil surface is the root ball. Like it is the roots. It is the roots. It's not just like a big pile of dirt. So the actual roots, these big roots, are coming out at the bottom of the tree 16 inches above the sidewalk. So when this tree was planted, it clearly wasn't planted correctly, because there are plenty of precedents down the road where there are gardens with grade root trees, right? They're not sticking up. And this is the problem, because this type of species, again, as a more shallow growing tree root system, with the first 24 inches or so is where the main roots are happening. So if we're going to cut back this much root, plus the fact that it's sticking up 10 to 12 inches above the curb, we're doing this on the facade so that we can waterproof, and along the edge, 3 feet for the proper assembly, which is going to include the existing granite we would love to keep and veneer. It would be a CMU wall with rebar down into the ground, plus then an entire 8 to 10 inches of gravel. That is looking at about 3 feet of what needs to be dug so that we can properly build this wall back into its base, what would be its existing condition, just restored. And we are very worried, and Sal, our neighbor, is also very worried about the fact that the tree leans towards his yard, and we're cutting 50% of the roots that are already exposed to the elements and above grade. So those images that we showed were in specific response to Lori, what you had mentioned. And we wanted you to know that, because the reason it's not just earth, it's a big network of roots that are essentially not where they're supposed to be. And it's unfortunate that whoever planted this tree didn't do it right, because and then never pruned it or anything. So it's kind of where we were dealt a not so great hand here. And it's just, frustrating because obviously we want to try to make this as great for the neighborhood and everyone in the community as possible. We just are worried about the timeline of this and obviously the life safety of people and anyone around this.
We also do acknowledge that there could be other contributing factors, but as Lori mentioned, there might be something that we need to look at regarding drainage for the building as a whole.
All right, thank you. We're on public comment now, so we're going to move on to public comment. So, Serge, would you like to make your comment?
Yes, thank you, Serge Savard, Vice Chair for the Architecture Committee for the Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay. As the applicants mentioned, we met them a week ago. We looked at this. We understand that there is a important problem to be dealt with the wall as soon as possible. And we suggested that the trenches be dug, and whatever is needed to rebuild the wall, or at least stabilize it, be entertained. And if during that process the tree is determined at this moment that the tree needs to be removed, then that would pursue. But I think here there's a few things that strikes me. If the wall is really on the verge of collapsing at any moment, that egress should probably be canceled, and basically support should be put in place immediately to try to prevent this from falling apart. If that's the case, and the structural engineer will probably talk about this. Otherwise, I would really try to dig everything that is needed, and the arborist can see. And if the digging is truly and the trenching is truly proof that the tree will be unstable or not survive, then the tree could then that the decision can be revised. I think the first thing that probably needs to be done in this case is to go into the emergency repair as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right, we did receive a written comment from Salvatore Napoli at 202 Beacon Street, and he expressed support for removing the tree. He's concerned about the impact it will have on his property at 202 Beacon Street. And I think that's it for public comment, Kathy.
All right, wonderful. So we go back to the motion.
Did you want to try to get the?
Oh yeah, the structural engineer.
Oh yes, yes. Thank you, Tom.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. If you could give us your full name.
Sure. My name is Mark Lisek. I'm a licensed structural engineer in the Boston area. I originally came out to the site and put together the report for this. And so what we're proposing is that we will have to replace this current retaining wall. Right now, this thing is purely relying on mortar that's kind of falling apart in between these blocks of granite. So what we'd have to do is remove possibly like a few feet of the soil back towards the tree to then be able to take down this current site wall and let's say build one with some type of granite facade that matches or resembles the existing one, but then having like a cinder block wall or a concrete wall hidden behind it to actually retain the soil with a vertical steel reinforcement so it can handle the additional lateral pressure. But what's happening right now is this existing retaining wall is struggling to handle not only like the saturated soil pressure, but I think these roots are adding additional pressure to the wall itself. And what we're fearing is, I guess if you think about looking at plan view of the tree, because one other thing that we noticed was there is some type of waterproofing issues that are happening on the wall, the facade of the building itself. So we have two quadrants of the tree. One is the site wall, and then the other quadrant is up against the home. So if you dig back all of that soil and possibly have to remove some of the roots, we fear that the tree might become unstable. And in addition to that, it's already leaning towards the sidewalk and away from the house. So this is like one of our biggest concerns is life safety. If during the process of trying to remove that soil and possibly any of the roots were to get damaged, then this thing were to actually collapse towards the people walking on the sidewalk.
Thank you. And I see, Sue, I see that you have your hand raised, so we'll take that as well and then move back to the motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, you may notice that I've had a tree that came down last summer, which you are voting on whether you're going to let me have a new one in the backyard. So I'm very conscious of these things. I would think one thing that would be helpful to know is if the arborist, when you have the arborist look at the tree condition, whether the grade, anything can be done about the grade, because I think that is probably part of the problem you're having with your water. What can happen to make that work? Could you make a container around it or somehow level out the garden around it? I think that, that might be something that the commission would need to know. And the other question that I have is, you mentioned that you might want to widen the stair or be required to widen the stair. And that probably needs to be resolved as well before the commission reviews it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Shall we go back now
To the motion. I move that the application be denied without prejudice, with the provisos that the tree shall remain undisturbed until a proposal to repair the wall, prepared in consultation with a certified arborist, is submitted to the commission, and that in reviewing the plan, if the commission concludes there is no feasible alternative to address the structural issues without removing the tree, then the tree is to be replaced with the species to be approved by the staff in consultation with the garden club.
Second?
Kathy Connor,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
Andy Champatera,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
Tom DeNayer,
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis,
Yes.
and Franklin Ross.
Yes.
Right. All
I'm
right.
also happy to throw my vote in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, sorry.
No.
Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. So we'll move on
Thank
to
you
our
very
next application.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
We're heading to application 25.0844 BB, 131 Commonwealth Avenue. Is there someone here from 131 Commonwealth Avenue, please?
Hello. Yes, this is Ryan Nevadomsky with Catherine Truman Architects, and we also have Adam Frost Wiley with the owner's rep. We are here for 131 Commonwealth Avenue.
Fantastic. Thank you. We're going to go back to Joe, and then the floor will be yours once he gives the staff comments.
Okay, right. And our proposed work here is at roof relocate location of previously approved HVAC units to the west side of the roof and enclosing in a perforated copper screen. Staff notes that 131 Commonwealth Avenue is a 4-story brick row house built in 1880 and designed by Carl Femer. At the December 13th, 2023 hearing, the commission approved locating equipment behind the eastern chimney and concealing it with screening. Staff recommends approval of locating the equipment against the west party wall and in a copper enclosure. It should be noted that this is a unique situation because the abutting building to the west has a party wall that extends well above the roof of 131 Commonwealth Avenue. Furthermore, this option reduces the appearance of clutter at the roof while improving open views from north to south across the roof. And I do have just one photo here. This is the public alley behind, and if you look here where my cursor is, that is where the mock-up is at 131. So Ryan, you can share your own screen, or would you like me to?
I can share my screen.
You want to share? Okay.
Yeah, perfectly fine with me. I think Adam did want to open up with a little statement before we get started here.
Okay,
Yeah,
Adam,
thank you.
Yep.
Can everybody hear me okay? I apologize. I am on the road, so I can't turn my video on. But on behalf of the owner, what I wanted to do was acknowledge that we know that this has previously been before you and a decision was made, and we really don't want this to come across in any disrespectful way that we're coming back and trying again for a different approach. What sparked this was a mechanical conflict with a vent that had to come up, and Ryan will get into this, but we had a vent that had to be placed out of sight, but right in the middle of the previously approved location. And this caused us to just rethink, is there a better solution? Our first thought was to go back to our preferred layout from before. And then with the help of the neighborhood association, we had a meeting with them last month when we were going to come. We realized that coming back with our previous solution would in fact be disrespectful. We realized that, you know, this is previously, you spent time to review this. So I guess the point that I just really want to make is that we appreciate everybody's time. We appreciate the process and the system in place. And we by no means would have come back if we didn't have a conflict. I guess I do think that the silver lining may be that it costs us to that it seems to work well for everybody. And I most importantly, we just wanted to express our observation that there's a good system in place, and we didn't want to come across as being disrespectful for coming with a new idea. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ryan. Thank you, everyone. I'll be here to comment as needed.
Thanks, Adam. So previously, before we had this sort of quad layout of HVAC units, this was what was previously approved against the east chimney at the roof deck. These were sort of slated behind the line of visibility with a copper surround at the two sides. And what happened is, because of some of the ductwork routing and venting that needs to happen with the HVAC system, really they had to come up with a roof exhaust that is within the clearance requirement for these units, and adjusting those to the right or down really starts to impact the access to the elevator mechanical room and the elevator itself. So we needed to look at a different way of laying this out, or a different location. And what we ultimately decided to do with a little bit of help from the NAAB is orient it down against the west wall, again enclosing it with this copper enclosure, same enclosure that is being done at 161 Commonwealth Avenue. This keeps it lower so it's not high and so visible when you're way down the alleyway. Keeps it away from our access to the mechanical room and the elevator. It keeps it away from the sort of grill and deck area that we want to have on the other side of this deck, and is obviously away from this HVAC vent that we had to have come up through the roof. What that looks like from, and you all have seen the mock-up, so what that looks like from the alleyway is this. When you're actually close to the building, and this is actually 85 feet away from the back of the building, down the alley. You don't even see the screen popping up above. It's when you are down, and this is basically the shot that Joe was showing earlier, and we're at 200 feet away from the building, that you do see the screen popping up above the railing that is back there. And this screen would be, again, perforated copper. It's going to patina and turn a nice patina copper color. It's perforated, so you do see through it a little bit, but it's actually not too bad in its visibility through. I actually have a couple photos from the one that's going in at 161. This is up on the roof, so you're getting a direct view of it, but it does a pretty decent job of screening and looking elegant, but not overwhelming at the same time.
Can I just ask a question on that?
Yep.
Because when we approved the screen at 161 Commonwealth, Rob made a couple of motion or provisos in his motion to make sure that it did in fact screen the mechanicals, so you wouldn't see them. And I've taken a look and I've seen the photographs, and that screen is very see-through, and you can see the mechanicals because the sky shows through it, and because it's too chicken wiry. And I'm concerned that what's going to happen is that you're going to have the same effect here. You're going to have a busy grid that you can still see the mechanicals, as opposed to a very simple copper, standing seam copper, or whatever, solid screen. Is there any operational reason why that's not possible?
So we are away from the clearances that are required for these HVAC units, but the manufacturer is still requiring an openness within the surround to allow for airflow. So the screen is lifted up off of the membrane roof by, I believe we have it at like 18 inches, might be 12 inches, which helps with the airflow, but they still are requiring a bit of openness within the surround to keep the airflow going for these units.
Can you design it in a way where it's a little less see-through?
We can look at the options of what we can do. We can talk with them about possibly reducing the amount of perforation. And we can also look at doing a different type of openness. Maybe it's a vertical channel every so often, so you still get a more solid appearance. Or maybe it could just literally be some sort of mesh behind the perforations that still offers air to come through, but blackens up or darkens up the appearance of whatever is behind that screen.
Would it be possible that I was just looking at your layouts, and the clearances for the two lines of units are actually touching, they don't overlap. Would it be possible to push them closer to each other so that the clearances overlap? And that would mean that you actually could make the screen a little bit more solid. I also have to admit that, Tom, I don't find it's terribly chicken wiry, and I think because here you will have the brick behind it, you will not see through to the side that much.
And the railing in front of it.
Yeah, that might make a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the other thing I just want to chime in and add, and I think Serge pointed this out, coincidentally, the existing railing does a good job at screening the screen, if you will. So this situation is a little bit different than 161 in that it is much shorter, and that to your point, we'll never have the sky behind it. It's always going to be that brick wall. And I think just the black railing also helps to provide additional screening. But to that point, I'm all for working with Ryan and the manufacturer. I think the simplest solution would be, if we're allowed to, add some kind of black screening behind the copper that would further block the view. That was my first thought to research, and we're happy to do that.
So to answer your question, Susanna, we cannot actually go in this direction with the units any further. Those are the directions that the units are blowing, and you can't impede their blowing on each other. So that's the minimum that we can put them together.
So it's not like a pulling of a coil,
right?
Okay, I understand. I think even with this configuration, I'm comfortable with the perforation that you're showing, because there's such a tall brick wall behind it. But I might be the only one on the commission, just put that one forward.
Well, I think it's good if they could take a look at it, and perhaps that's something that we could ask them to do and have it approved by Joe, because I think that's right. With the brick behind it, it's going to reduce the see-through character, but it's still, I'd like to see what else they can come up with.
Right, that makes sense.
Any other comments, commissioners?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, great. Then let's go to public comment.
All right, I'm just going to need to share my screen. So if you could stop.
Oh, sure.
Sharing, Ryan.
Sorry.
That's okay.
There you go.
Do we see anybody's hand raised?
Oh, here's a script. Sorry, Kathy.
Thank you very much. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which includes landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. And Serge, I see that you have your hand raised.
All right, Serge, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. So sorry about that. Yes, we did see this presentation last week, and we're pretty happy with the new configuration for the units. So for this applicant, I think our main concern is about the sorry about that. It's about the screening itself. So we really want the screening to be looked at eventually by staff. That would be really the thing that concerned us. The rest were pretty good with that proposal. Sorry, I have something in my throat. But for the rest, we're all pretty we're really, really happy with this proposal, and we would like to thank the applicant for the time they put on this. Thank you.
Thank you,
Serge,
sir.
just to be clear, you're talking about the visibility through the screen, that same issue, right?
Oh,
He's
I gotta unmute him. Serge, if you wanted to respond, you can. I made you. You can unmute.
Sorry about that. I didn't hear that.
Oh, Ryan, do you want to ask your question again?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Serge, just to clarify, you were talking about the visibility, the openness of the screen, right?
Yes, this is correct.
Okay.
It's really the screen that the new screen on 161 is really see-through.
Okay.
So if the applicant can if you can, Ryan, look at alternative for that screen or put something behind it, because our main concern is about the visibility of the units behind that screen. These units will be in a clear color, and because of that, they will be really visible through that screen, because especially with the contrast with the brick behind.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Joe? Do you see anyone?
No, that's all the comment we have.
All right, then let's go back to the motion.
My motion is for approval with the following provisos: that the applicant work with staff to reduce the openness of the screen in an effort to screen the mechanical equipment even further.
Second.
Could I, Rob?
Yeah.
Could I suggest a second proviso reflecting Joe's comments, that the approval, this is because this is contrary to the guidelines, which would normally require the equipment to be further towards the center of the building, that this approval reflects the specific configuration of the rear elevation of 131 Commonwealth and is not a precedent for other applications.
Okay, I'll add that. But by no means does this approval create a precedent. And our approval is because of the specific configuration of these HVAC units.
Right. Well, configuration of the building, the rear build of the building itself. It's the physical, the fact that there is a party wall that is next door, which hides it pretty much from the western side. So.
Building and HVAC units.
Yeah, perfect.
Right. Genia, is that acceptable to you?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. So Kathy Connor?
Yes.
Tom High?
Yes.
Andy Champatera?
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
Tom V. Nayer,
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis,
Yes.
Franklin Ross,
Yes.
and Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, shall we move on to administrative approval at this point in time? Do we have a motion?
Motion to
accept-
approve?
Second.
Right. Who was the second? Was that you, Rob?
Me, Rob, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Kathy Connor. Kathy.
Yeah. Whoops.
Okay. Tom
Yes,
High.
yeah.
Yes.
Andy Giampatera.
Yes.
Rob Weintraub.
Yes.
Tom V. Nayer.
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis.
Yes.
Franklin Ross.
Stay.
Okay. And Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
All right.
Great. And what about staff updates?
Oh, we have minutes.
Oh, I must have missed that part of my, yes, so let's do the minutes. Thank you. I didn't see that on the overview on my,
Motion to approve?
Second. Third.
Right. Kathy Connor.
yes.
Tom High.
Yes.
Andy Giampatera.
Yes.
Rob Weintraub.
Yes.
Tom V. Nayer.
Yes.
Gina Dimitriadis.
Yes.
Franklin Ross.
Abstain.
And Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
All right.
Now how about if we move on to the staff updates?
Sure. Just one brief one, and it happens to do with minutes. We're thinking about just moving the minutes and admin to the beginning of the agenda at all of our district commissions, just to get that out of the way early on in case people have to leave early. So that's probably a change you're going to be seeing next month in the agenda. And then tomorrow is the Mayor's Coffee Hour for Back Bay and Beacon Hill. And hopefully, if it doesn't rain, that'll be taking place in the Commonwealth Avenue Mall.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
And
great.
that's up by Arlington, I think, is where.
Yes, yep, and that's at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Great. And that is, I like the movement of the minutes, et cetera, Joe. I think that makes perfect sense at the beginning.
It does. And actually, as an old corporate secretary, I can tell you that's where it normally is at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
So we're finally getting aligned after all these years, Tom.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, shall we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
Have a nice
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
you. Bye-bye.